Hello everyone, this is part 4 of What If Naruto Fell in Love with Kurenai, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. When Naruto awoke, he found himself in his bedroom at the house he shared with Anko and Kurenai, and he saw Kurenai laying beside him with a few dried tears on her face. Naruto thought, "I'm sorry for causing you pain, Tenshi," as he remembered feeling sick and passing out, and he looked around and wondered how he got here. Kurenai felt guilt for some reason, and she slowly opened her eyes and looked at Naruto and saw the sorrow and worry, and she quickly put her arms around him and kissed him, shocking the poor boy. A few moments later she broke the kiss and said, "I thought you were going to when I heard you were poisoned. If Anko had not been there you would have." Naruto looked confused and asked, "So was that why I felt sick all of a sudden?" Kurenai said, "Yes. From the way the medics talked, I think the fox saved you though, because they said you should be from that particular snake bite. That's the only thing I can think of." Naruto asked, "How long have I been out?" Kurenai said, 2 days. You would have been around yesterday, but someone decided to attack you in the hospital room. After that I had the third let me bring you home after he had me sign some papers for your protection, of course, officially. He said you can meet Jiraiya at the hot springs when you recover." Naruto nods and said, "Did you stop the attack at the hospital?" Kurenai looked down and said, "Actually Kiba did. He came by to check on Hinata and to see you saying something about a promise to Akamaru." "What was that about?" Naruto smiled and said, "When I grabbed him during the match, I promised Akamaru if he would play along I would give him that food he was eating and also face Kiba in a match of his choosing if I won. That way he would not always be mad at me." Kurenai nodded, looking away, and was silent a moment, and Naruto felt worry and put his hand on her face and turned her to look at him, and he saw tears, and she said, Though I had lost you and I still don't know what it is I feel for you yet, but I know one thing. When the medics said you would I just wanted to myself. I can't believe I have fallen for you so fast to feel this pain. I mean, we have only started seeing each other a little over 2 weeks ago." Naruto said, "I know. When I read your letter I wanted to prove to you I was good enough for you. That's why I wore the cloths you had gotten me earlier than I said I would." Kurenai looked confused and said, "What letter?" Naruto blinked and said, "The one Anko gave me right before the test, she said was from you." Kurenai said, "Do you have the letter?" Naruto said, "It should be in my coat pocket." Kurenai got out of bed in a pair of short and a loose shirt for comfort and got the letter and growled and said, "That little bee. I told her I wanted you to show everyone, especially after Kakashi called you a one-trick pony, but I did not want to force you to." She wrote this. Anko, who was outside the door sipping a bottle of sake, listening in, said, "That's right, Kure-chan. I did it so the Gaki would be respectable for you. Aren't you glad I did? I mean, he totally humiliated the dog boy and then saved that Lee kid. Not to mention cheering on his little cousin and his stalker. I think if he had not been out fox, then the Lee kid would be and his little stalker would have gave up and received double what she got once she got home. Then the little mutt would never learn and his little cousin would have lost to her rival. That and the fact he would have probably played the idiot and lost his match, so I think this worked out better." Kurenai shot her friend a glare and finally sighed and said, "Fine, you're right, I wanted to say the same damn thing but I did not want to pressure him." Naruto heard this and smiled a real smile and said, "Well, if it's any comfort. I am glad she did, because I decided I want to be someone you can be proud of when we let others know about us, that is if you still want an us, I mean." Kurenai shot him a dumb look and said, "Of course I do, I swear you really are dense sometimes." Naruto said, "Well, I better get ready and start training," as he got out of bed finding he. Anko said, "Hold it, Gaki, I want you to find out from the pervert what your schedule is. I have a few things I want to teach you also, and maybe little Kure-chan here can teach you a thing or two about genjutsu," as she looked at Kurenai. Kurenai looked in thought and said, "I suppose I can. I mean, Shino the only one on my team who passed and he is mostly training with his family. I got only 2 hours a day with him and Kiba now until Hinata gets out." Naruto said, "Well, if you don't mind, Why don't I use Kijbunshin to speed up my training with all three of you? I mean I can learn Genjutsu and whatever you want me to learn while I learn from this Jiraiya guy. Both ladies looked at each other and Anko said, alright, I just got 5 jutsu I want to teach you so create one and come on, as she turned and left the room. Kurenai said, I suppose that will work but I also have a few other things planned to do during this time also plus I have to help Shino get ready for the exam so I can't teach you much. I do want to spend some time alone with you also. I think it's time we had a special dinner just you and me. How does that sound? Naruto said, that sounds good but my cooking's not that great so I hope you like it. Kurenai blushed and said, well actually, I thought I would cook for you, tonight. Naruto said, you don't have to. I mean you have already done so much for me I don't want to be a bother. Kurenai giggled and put her arms around him and said, you're no trouble Naruto. I mean you're not bother at all. Naruto smiled and Kurenai said, well I have heard things about this Jiraiya guy. H is the one who trained your father. Naruto said, I know. I don't know how to feel about that, if I should be happy or mad because H is doing for my dad or something like that. I will decide when I meet him. Kurenai said, well I understand that but the thing that worries me is he happens to be the author of those books Kakashi reads. Naruto growled and said, H is a pervert, as he looked at her. Kurenai nods and said, what I wanted to say was just don't become a pervert or else, as she released some ki. Naruto gulped and nods as he quickly grabs his stuff and ran to the bathroom. Once he was gone both Kurenai and Anko burst out laughing and Anko said, so, already wiping him into shape huh? Kurenai reached into her pocket and pulled out a book and said, yeah, I read this book about relationships and it says that when one is older than the other the younger one sometimes feels defiant and wants to show Thea better. The best way is to break those habits before the relationship moves too far. Anko snorts and said, so you think you can mold him into the perfect man? Kurenai said, nope, just reading it to see what not to do. I mean the person who wrote this book has been with over 1,000 women it says. Anko said, oh yeah, who wrote it? Kurenai smiled and said, Jiraiya. Anko snickered and burst out laughing and said, oh god, you're evil. Kurenai said, I know, now that Naruto knows H is a pervert he won't listen to any relationship advice and will have to learn on his own just as I am also doing so we are both learning together. Anko shook her head and said, I don't know, I think if you two ever had a kid then that person would be a total hellbound prankster with your and his cunning at manipulation. Kurenai said, kids huh, maybe someday, as she blushed and looked away. Anko said, so what are your other plans you mentioned? I know you don't like planning anything out. Kurenai said, well, after Naruto got dressed he quickly went to the hot springs and found Jiraiya by following the shouts of pervert and woman beating him. As Naruto watched the woman leave Jiraiya melted into mud and he dropped a genjutsu that he was hiding under and said, Sagaki, you the one sensei told me about. Naruto said, perhaps, are you Jiraiya? Jiraiya said, yes I am. Naruto threw a kunai at Jiraiya who caught it and Naruto appeared in a yellow flash punching Jiraiya in the nuts with his fist and Jiraiya fell to the ground and asked, why, in a pain-filled voice. Naruto said, I remember you. The guy who was talking about some snake lady using some long tongue jutsu. I remember you also groping me when I used my C no jutsu back then. Jiraiya thought a moment and said, nope, doesn't ring any bells. Naruto said, maybe this will. As he grabbed the notepad that Jiraiya had dropped and put it in the back of his pants and wiped his ass with it before kicking the still on his knee Jiraiya in the face and pulling the toad oil headband out to stuff the notepad in behind it. Jiraiya quickly got up and grabbed Naruto by the ankle and threw him onto the water but Naruto stood on top of it as he landed instead of sinking. Jiraiya growled and said, I remember you now, you're the ass who ruined one of my works and caused that book to be my worst ever. Naruto said, good, then I think we agree, you don't like me and I don't like you. So what do you want to do? Tell the old man to find me someone else or what Ero-sanin? Jiraiya smiled evilly and said, no kid, you're going to learn from me. The first thing you are going to learn is taijutsu, as he appeared behind Naruto and punched him only for Naruto to go up in smoke. Jiraiya looked around when a voice from behind said, Konoha's secret taijutsu, 1,000 years of death, as Jiraiya was sent flying into the air only to dissolve into water. Naruto, who appeared from his cloak of invisibility, was suddenly kicked in the back and flew into the water in front of him face first, making him jump out holding his face that was now red. Naruto pulled out a kunai and threw it at Jiraiya, who grabbed it and threw it all at one time straight up, and Naruto said, "S," as he disappeared in a yellow flash and appeared around 200 feet in the air, only for a water dragon to hit him as he started to fall. When Naruto finally made it to shore after landing in the water half drowned, he was completely covered in red from light burns and asked, "How did you know?" Jiraiya said, "I knew your old man when he was creating that jutsu, so I know how to counter it. A throwed one is one you're automatically committed to. Once you threw it, I knew you only had 20 seconds at most before you had to instantly jump with it, so when I caught it I simply threw it as high as I could straight up. Anyone who never faced your father would have been caught by yours use, but a seasoned vet like me can use it against you. You surprised me on the first time, considering you used a standard kunai instead of the tri-pronged kunais your dad did, but after I figured that out you're easy to beat. Also, I could detect when you used the Kijbunshin and replaced yourself with it. I must say that was impressive improvisation, but you still lack experience and support SKS. Naruto nods and said, "So are you going to teach me or not, because I got someone else who wants to teach me also." Jiraiya said, "Really? Who?" as he looked at Naruto. Naruto said, "Anko." Jiraiya nods and said, "She probably wants to know the Schedule 1 plan to train you also, right?" Naruto just nods and Jiraiya said, "All right, I will train you from noon until I don't feel like it any longer. You will meet me here every day and we will go from there. Now tell me what ninjutsu you know." Naruto said, "Well, I know Kijbunshin and the secret behind it, henge, replacement, see no jutsu, harem jutsu, cloak of invisibility, haration, tree climbing, water walking, leaf balancing, and my ninjutsu summoning." Jiraiya said, "I heard about that. Quite impressive and unique way to do it. Anything else?" Naruto said, "No, Kakashi-sensei won't teach me anything besides the tree climbing." Jiraiya said, "Then who showed you the secret of Kijbunshin and the other exercises?" Naruto said, "Iruka-sensei showed me the leaf balancing, and then Anko showed me water walking as well as the secret of Kijbunshins. She had me learn the katas of a taijutsu using it in less than a week." Jiraiya was quite a moment and Naruto said, "Can you teach me the 5-star sealer and unsealer?" Jiraiya said, "I can, but you won't be able to use it on yourself. It takes a lot of chakra control, and if you have it put on you then you won't be able to use it." Naruto said, "Well, I was actually wanting to learn it to use against Gaara." Jiraiya said, "So you know about him, huh? The old man must be getting senile to tell a genin about that." Naruto said, "Actually it wasn't him who told me, he only confirmed it." Jiraiya looked at Naruto and asked, "Then who told you?" Naruto pointed to his stomach and Jiraiya said, "So you can talk to it?" Naruto said, "No, but when we were in wave I accidentally drew on its power and heard it whipsering to K the guy the first was fighting, but I didn't, and then during the match Gaara had with Lee I had heard its voice again calling Gaara, Shukaku." Jiraiya looked in thought and said, "Well then we need to start your training. Let's start with summoning." And so began Naruto day of training. About 3 weeks had went by when Naruto came to Kurenai door in his see no jutsu, except he had cloths on and looked like a younger version of his mother from the picture he had of her and her dad when she was pregnant, and he looked down at his hand that was shaking uncontrollably and he tried to unlock the door but he couldn't. Naruto thought, "Damn it, what is wrong with my hands? Why is it I can't use them anymore or make hand signs? I was lucky I can use my see no jutsu without hand signs now, or I would have been way in trouble. Maybe Tenchi is home and can let me in," as he hit the door with his knee a couple of times. Inside the house, Kurenai looked at the clock and said, "I wonder who that is," as she set her tea down and got up and walked to the door. When she got there and opened the door, Naruto said, "Thank Kami you're here, Tenchi. Ero Sanon's training was Kur today and I can't use my hands," as the red-haired girl in front of Kurenai held out her hands that were trembling, and Kurenai quickly went wide-eyed as she recognized the nicknames and looked behind her and whipsed as she leaned forward. "Wait, Naruto, is that you?" Naruto nods and Kurenai said, "S, you got to stay in that form until later, we got company." Naruto said, "Oh, okay Tenchi, but can I come in? I'm tired and can't really do anything at the moment," looking at his hands. Kurenai said, "Yeah, come on in," as she stepped aside and Naruto walked in. As Naruto walked into the room, he was surprised to see Hinata, Ino, Tenten and Sakura here, and, from this point until I say otherwise, I will be calling Naruto in female terms since he is in female form right now. Ino said, "Hello, who are you?" Kurenai came in and said, "Oh, this is." Naruto said, "My name is Kushina, I'm one of Kurenai roommates." Kurenai smiled and nods, and Sakura asked, "If you're roommates, why did you not just let yourself in?" Kushina, as Naruto was going by now, said, "Because I can't use my hands at the moment. I overtrained today, as you can see," holding her hands up that were trembling. All the girls looked at her and Tenten asked, "Are you a ninja?" Kushina said, "Yes, a genin, why?" Sakura said, "Well, we just was wondering since you said you were training, and how old are you? I mean, you don't look any older than us." Kushina said, 14 going to be 15 soon. Why does it matter if I am or not, and don't you ladies know it's impolite not to tell others your names? Each of the girls looked sheepish and said their names, and Kurenai asked, "Do you need anything, Kushina?" Kushina looked embarrassed and said, Well, if you don't mind helping me in my room a second with something, I would appreciate the help." Kurenai said, "Sure, girls, I will be back in a moment," as both walked out of the room. When they made it to Naruto room, Kurenai asked, "What do you need?" Kushina said, "I need your help changing so I can go to the restroom. I can't undo any of my buttons on my cloths. I hate to ask, but I really need to go," as she looked down. Kurenai blushed and said, "Sure. Just give me a second." As she ran to her room and came back with a white bathrobe and quickly helped Kushina take off her shirt that changed back to its real look the moment it touched the ground, along with her pants, and looking away she helped with the boxes but caught enough of a look and thought, "Holy hell, it really does turn him into a woman. I thought that was a joke." She then slipped him on some of his shorts, and after a few seconds they changed into a different pair of shorts, and Kushina said, "Thanks, now what are they doing here?" Kurenai said, "Well, now that Hinata out of the hospital, I wanted to talk to all the girls from Konoha who failed in the second exam about their training and stuff." Kushina said, "I see. Well, I guess I need to go, and I will just come back in here afterwards. Could you come back and tell me when they're gone so I can drop the jutsu?" Kurenai said, "Sure, I will hurry up and get rid of them." Kushina said, "No, you wanted to help them and they need help, so talk to them. I can keep this up for days even in my sleep, so don't worry about it," as she left to go to the restroom. Luckily, with only the shorts and the house robe on, she had no other trouble using the restroom. When she came out, Ino was standing at the door and said, "The others want you to come join us." Kushina said, "Well, I don't mean to intrude." Ino grabbed her arm and started to drag Kushina toward the living room and said, "Well, since Kurenai-sensei is talking about training and stuff for us women, you might as well come also, so either you can learn something or add your own advice," as she let go of her arm and walked toward a seat. Kushina sighed and saw the sorry look on Kurenai's face and said, "Oh, get that look off your face, Tenchi, it don't look good on you," making everyone look at both Kushina and Kurenai, who had a blush on. Ino asked, "Tenchi, why did you call her that?" Kushina froze a moment, realizing her slip, and said, "Oh, it's just the nickname her boyfriend gave her. I like to tease her with it." And for just a moment all eyes locked on her, and Kurenai shot her a look that clearly said, "You just opened the gates of hell." Hinata stuttered, "You have a boyfriend, sensei?" as each of the girls looked at the older girl. Kurenai took a sip of tea, trying to think of what to say, and said, "Yes." Ino said, "Ooh, gossip. The famed ice queen of Konoha has finally melted. So tell me, who is he?" Kurenai smiled and said, "Not telling." Sakura, who was just as much as a gossip hound, said, "You have too. The bonds of sisterhood demand it. So tell us who he is. How did you meet? How long you been going out? Have you done it? How good is he? What's he like? How you got the nickname Tenchi, and anything else about him." As the list was going on, Kurenai was getting redder and redder, and Kushina felt Kurenai getting uneasy and said, "Hold it, girls. If you want to know all that, then you have to earn her trust to keep it a secret. Her and her boyfriend want to keep their relationship a secret for a reason. I only know because I am her roommate, but I can tell you a story about how Kurenai got her nickname and how they met if you want to listen to it, but it's a long story and all true, and you have to listen to it all, and in the end you will tell me what you think about the main people in the story, and if you pass my test, Kurenai might tell you about her relationship if she wants to, that is." Agreed. Kurenai looked at Kushina and said, "You're not telling him all of it, are you?" Kushina said, relax, I'm going to change the names and locations so even if they were to go to the same village they would never know it so that way those two won't have to worry about it. Tenten asked, so how does this story go? I mean how do you know it? Kushina said, I'm originally from the village this story takes place. Ino said, so you're not originally from Konoha. Kushina said, my father was, my mother sort of not and I won't explain it so don't ask. Anyways when those of us who know this story tell it we call it the Tenshi and the Oni. Hinata stuttered, the angel and the demon. Why? Kurenai said, before she tells this story do any of you know anything about sealing? Tenten said, I do. The others shook their head no and Kurenai asked, okay, well answer this question of common sense. If you seal a kunai in a scroll does it turn the scroll into the kunai? Tenten said, of course not. They are two separate things. Kurenai looked at the other girls and they all nodded and she asked, okay, one more example before the story gets told. If a prisoner is locked in a prison does that make the prisoner the prisoner? Sakura said, of course not, that's stupid, who would believe such a thing? Kushina said in a sad tone, a lot of people actually. Everyone looked at her and Ino asked, what do you mean? Kushina said, now I am going to change the names of places and people so I want you all to name me the names of your teammates and places real quick so I can choose from them. Sakura asked, why are teammates' names? Kushina said, so that way my own choosing of names won't accidentally screw it up and since I don't think any of you have ever been to the village in this story you won't name it either. After each of the girls named their teammates and places Kushina said, now remember I am changing the names of people and places to protect the innocent. This story starts a long time ago. Before I was born actually. This man named Sasuke who was the leader of the village of Wave was happily married to a woman from another village named Hinata. At this two blast of ki from Sakura and Ino hit him. Ino said, how come I was not chosen as Sasuke wife? Sakura said, no me. Kushina blasted both with ki freezing them and said, because of that reason right there. Answer me this question girls. Do you want to know why Sasuke never has accepted any dates from any of you girls? Everyone was looking at him and Sakura said, because he is waiting until he KS a Satian man. Kushina slapped her own head and said, I swear by all that is created fangirls are God's judgment on people. Getting looks from everyone and after calming down Kushina said, alright girls, here is a little information you all are too blind to notice. Sasuke is the last of his clan correct? Everyone nods and Kushina said, do you know that Sasuke, because of the laws of Konoha, has to marry several women? Sakura asked, what do you mean? Kushina said, simple, when a clan or someone with a bloodline is nearly out of people who carry their name or bloodline then they have to have a harem because of the clan resurrection laws. Sasuke knows this and you know why he has never told you all about it. The reason why you Sakura and you Ino had to throw your friendship away when you were younger, making both girls look sheepish and away. Kushina said, it's because Sasuke likes to see people hurt other people. Sakura said, that's not true. Kushina blasted her with ki making her and Ino shut up and said, really, then answer me this, with over 300 women chasing after him to be with him, all willing to do anything to make him happy, and would even be willing to share him then why would he just sit there and watch as you fight each other every day and never put an end to it by saying he can have multiple wives and lovers to save you all emotional and physical pain? If he actually gave a damn about any of you then he would have stood up and saved you but no, he just sits back, smirks, and waits for you to act like little playthings where he can just say, Sakura K Ino and for his love you would actually do it and you Ino would do the same thing, never mind you both were once like sister, who needs sister when Thea Pekka to be had huh? You know what, I bet if you asked Sasuke what his favorite mission was you know what he would say. Capture Tora. Why you ask? Simple, it's the only piece of L he meets that he actually has to chase it. Kurenai who saw both girls get embarrassed and mad and said, that's enough Kushina, I know how you feel about this because of how things were for your relative but I don't think these girls would listen to your views, even if they were right. Kushina sighed and closed her eyes and said, forgive me girls, it's just my cousin is a fangirl and I have seen the guy she loves actually punch her in the face before and walked away never looking back and she has actually crawled on her hands and knees for this guy and he still treats her as trash. When I see the same thing happening because of Sasuke it just makes my blood boil. Everyone was quite a few moments and Kushina said, well anyways, as I said before, this guy named Sasuke who married this girl named Hinata were happily married and were expecting a child. They had hid their relationship from all but their closest friends because Sasuke had a lot of enemies and he was afraid they would hurt Hinata to get to him. Anyways, the day their son Naruto. Sakura snickered and said, Naruto, why are you making him the son? Kushina said, oh, I figure it's because back before Sasuke family was killed, Sasuke and Naruto were best friends. Both Ino and Sakura looked at each other and Ino asked, are you sure? Kushina said, yes, he even had dinner with Sasuke and his older brother Itachi. In fact, one of the 3 reasons why Naruto and Sasuke don't care for each other now is because of Itachi. Kurenai said, really, I didn't know that. Kushina said, yeah, Naruto could not believe that Itachi would just kill his whole clan for no reason but to test his power and said that he must have done it for another reason and must have had help. I mean, how could one man actually kill over 200 people and most of them trained ninja with more experience than him in less than a few hours without alerting the village Anbu of it? Naruto thinks someone else did it and Itachi told Sasuke he did it so Sasuke would not be stupid and go after the real curs of their clan while Itachi tried to track them down, or maybe the Uchiha had done something truly evil and the third had them all killed and Itachi took the blame under orders to protect Sasuke. I mean, the Uchiha had a lot of skeletons in their closet they tried to hide and they also had a lot of enemies who could use a henge to fool Sasuke. I mean, he did not have his Sharingan then and was just barely an academy student. Why could not a Junin henge to look like Itachi and frame him? Hell, at one time people actually thought it was the Hyuga who killed them and then Itachi took the blame so they would spare Sasuke. Anyways, back to what I was saying, Sasuke believes Itachi just killed them on a whim and never tried to look underneath to see the real reason, and Naruto believes that maybe Itachi had a reason or he might be innocent. Everyone looked at Kushina and she said, well anyways, let's get back to the story. Now, as I was saying, Sasuke and Hinata had a little boy named Naruto and they should have had a happy life together, but the day Naruto was born a terrible demon attacked the village of Wave and were king all of their people. Ino said, sounds like the Kyuubi attack on Konoha. Kushina said, you do know there are lots of demons in the world and a lot of villages have been attacked by them in the past, so don't assume things until you have all the information. Ino looked sheepish and Kushina said, anyways, Sasuke being the leader of the village felt it was his duty to save the villages, so he found an ancient jutsu and since he was a seal master he discovered a way to stop the demon and eventually kill it, but it would cost him his life. He was unhappy about this but knew it had to be done to save his son. He was also sad because his wife Hinata is during labor, so he knew that his choice was going to make his son an orphan. Anyways, Sasuke told the person he chose to take over after him as the leader of the village the truth about what he was going to do and also about his son whose life was about to be cursed by saving the village. You see, to kill the demon using the jutsu he found he would have to summon the Shinigami who would aid in the sealing and then seal it into a newborn baby, making each of the girls gasp. Ino said, he didn't. Kushina looked down and said, yes, he did. Tenten said, so he sealed the demon inside his own son. Kushina said, yes, he was such a noble person that he could not ask any other family to sacrifice their child to become the living prison of the demon, so he chose his own son and using the jutsu and sealing he sealed the demon in the baby so that as Naruto grew up he would slowly take the power of the demon away and kill the demon so it would never escape again, and when Naruto the demon would also He had asked the man who took over for him to have the people see the boy as the hero he was. Sakura had gone quiet during this and Ino asked, so he grew up as the hero, everyone worshipped him, right? Kushina and Kurenai snorted and Kushina said, no, in fact when the new leader, Kiba, told the truth about the baby beside the fact they tried to kill Naruto several times. Kiba's heart was broken over this and knew that Sasuke would kill the people who openly cried out for the baby to be put to death, never mind the fact he saved their village from destruction. Anyways, Kiba wanted little Naruto to have a normal life as best as he could. He put him in the orphanage and passed a law that said if anyone told the younger generation about the truth or the law they would either be arrested or executed. This did not stop the hate either. As the boy grew up he was abused in every way you can imagine. The parents of the children who came later also found a way to get around the law. They had their children ignore or abuse Naruto as he grew up and simply had them stay away from him, and they picked up their parents' hate of him. Sakura asked, Didn't anyone ever adopt him? What about Kiba? Why didn't he adopt him? As she was getting sad and about to cry. Kushina said, Kiba wanted to and tried to do it in fact, but the council of the village told Kiba if he did they would remove him from office and then select a new leader of the village who would have Naruto executed, so he was forbidden from adopting him. Kiba, since he knew who Naruto's parents were and about their marriage, also knew that Hinata had a brother named Shino who had married a woman named Tenten and they had a daughter named Sakura. Ino said, so did they adopt him? I mean they were family, right? Kurenai said, well Shino had S during the demon's attack to help buy Sasuke the time to seal the demon into Naruto. Kushina said, when Naruto was 4 and Sakura was 3, Kiba had called Tenten to her office and told her about Naruto's parents. Tenten said she already knew who he was and she saw him as nothing but the demon itself and refused to adopt Naruto, who was in the other room at the time, and heard her say it. Naruto had just been taken out of the orphanage at the time when his 500th assassination attempt happened, making everyone gasp. Hinata asked, how did he live through that many attempts? Kurenai said, well thanks to the seal Naruto was able to heal real quick, because as we told you the seal was designed for Naruto to draw the chakra away from the demon and slowly decay it by making the chakra Naruto, and his body became used to having it and it healed all his wounds from the attacks, and also there were a few people who saw him as a hero but not many, so he would sometimes be saved and Kiba would try to keep a guard on Naruto at all times even though that only stopped some of them. Sakura thought, this sounds so much like my teammate Naruto. People are always giving him hateful looks and he does heal quick. He also had that strange red chakra that covered him in the forest of death when Orochimaru attacked us. Could that be the chakra of a demon, and if it is, does that mean H is the person they are talking about, or is it just a coincidence? Kushina said, anyways after that Kiba had no choice but to give Naruto his own place and he grew up alone and did not even know why he was hated. Ino asked, did he ever find happiness? What happened to him? Did they finally kill him? Did he ever find out why he was hated? As she was really wanting to know. Kushina asked, before we continue, do you all think Naruto was a demon or just a hero his father asked him to be? I mean honestly, what do you all think? Tenten said, like I said, a kunai is not the scroll, it is sealed it. Each of the girls nodded and Kurenai smiled and said, I think they should know it all, don't you Kushina? Kushina got a playful look in her eyes and said in an uncertain kind of voice, perhaps, but I don't know. I mean the rest of the story is a roller coaster of events. I mean, I don't want Naruto to hate us if he ever met the girls here someday, especially with what happens in the story. I mean, should I tell the girls here if he could trust those that were younger than him? How they thought of him after finding out the creature that killed some of their parents and family was sealed in someone they went to school with, worked with, or if Sakura and Naruto had a form of friendship, or does Naruto ever tell Sakura he was her cousin or that she had a bloodline? I just wonder if we should just stop because this was not our story to tell, and your nickname Tenshi came from this story because you and your boyfriend have a unique relationship similar to that of Naruto and another person. Sakura said, no, we wouldn't see him any different. I mean it, as she looked at Kushina. Ino said, yeah, I mean come on. We're smart enough to tell the difference. Wanting to know the rest of the story. Tenten said, I know the difference because I know sealing. Tell us what happens, please. Hinata said in a stuttery voice. Sensei, please tell us. Kushina said, I will tell you the rest of the story, but not today, making each of the girls faceplant. Ino said, why damn it. Kushina said, simple Ino, Tenshi here asked you all over to talk to you about your training, and I am tired from my own training, and you all need to think over what you heard already so you can ask better questions next time so I can tell you more about Naruto, Sakura, and the other people in this story. Well, I am going to lay down, as she got up and left the room. Once she was gone, all the girls looked at Kurenai and she said, well, sorry girls. You have to wait but think over what you really think about Naruto. I mean, you all say now you don't think he is a demon, but make sure, because if you ever meet him in real life it could mean a good friend or a powerful enemy for you. Well, it's late, so why don't we call it a night? Each of them groaned and looked at the clock and saw it was 7 p.m. and got up and left except Hinata. Hinata said after they left in a stuttery voice, Sensei, can I talk to you in the kitchen? Kurenai nods and walks into the kitchen. When they got in the kitchen, Kurenai turned around and received a slap across the face and heard, you took him from me, as Kurenai held her face. Kushina ran into the room when she heard the slap and the shout, and Kushina asked, "What's going on?" Kurenai said, "I don't know. Hinata, why did you attack me?" Hinata, who was red, said, "I know about the QB in Naruto-kun. I can figure out what you both are saying. You stole Naruto-kun from me." As she looked at Kushina with her bloodline active and said, "I know it's you, Naruto-kun," in an angry voice with no stutter. Kurenai said, "What the hell are you talking about, Hinata?" Hinata said, "I have known the truth about Naruto since we were younger. That's why I looked up to him in the academy. He would ignore all the hateful looks he received and kept on trying. Even when people threw rocks at him, or beat him, or refused to let him into their stores. Kurenai sensei, you took him from me, you knew I liked him and all, and you betrayed me." Kushina said, "Enough," making both freeze as she unleashed ki. As both were panting, Kushina sighed, putting her hands in a seal several times before she was able to release the jutsu as she was covered in smoke and changed to him, and he said, "Hinata, Kurenai did not take me from you. You keep going on and on about how you want me to be with you, and even when you were told that I just wanted friends with you, you ignored my wishes and only looked after what you thought. I tried to tell you that I did not like you that way because I honestly don't know how to be anything other than a friend. I grew up hated and abused, and most of the times when people were nice to me, it was just so they could try and poison me or lure me into traps. I respect you as a friend, but my heart never held more than that for you." Hinata said, "No, you're wrong, Naruto-kun. You have feeling for me, but this homewrecker made you forget them." Kurenai said, "Enough, Hinata. You." She was stopped when Naruto put his hand on her shoulder. Naruto sighed and said, "Hinata, you want to know why I never had feeling other than a friend for you? I will tell you. Since I knew you were untouchable, I never let myself fall for you back when we were younger. That is why I never wanted anything other than friends, because I have already been hurt enough in my life. Why hurt myself more when you're already engaged to be married to someone else?" Making Kurenai look at him. Hinata said, "But I don't love him." Naruto said, "I know, Hinata. I was his best friend and I know how big of a jackass he is now, but no matter what you or I say or do, there is nothing either of us can do about it, so why put ourselves through years of pain and hardship? We can be friends, and if you ever need a shoulder to cry on, I am there for you, but we can never be more than that. That was why I never let there be an us, Hinata. It's why I found someone who has taken the time to show me happiness. Can't you let this crush go and accept my friendship, or are you going to ruin the chance we have for it?" Kurenai asked, "Wait, do you mean Shush is engaged to Sasuke?" Naruto said, "Yes, she is. They both have been engaged since before they were born, thanks to an agreement between both clans to hopefully end the rivalry between them. I knew about it because I heard Itachi and Sasuke talking about it once." Hinata said, "But Naruto, I can be the woman for you. I would do anything for you. I can change for you," as she was pleading with emotion in her voice. Naruto closed his eyes and sighed and said, "Hinata, I don't want someone who will change to make me happy. I want someone who can be themselves around me and feel relaxed. Kurenai and I have just recently started to see each other, and we don't know what it is we feel for each other, but we do know we like what we feel and want to experience it more. Please don't make me hurt one of the only friends I have or the woman I have come to care for. Please accept my friendship for you and leave it at that. Please." Hinata was crying and she looked away from Naruto and Kurenai, and after several minutes of crying she said, "All right. I will just be your friend, but if you ever hurt him, sensei, I will kill you. Even if I have to come back to do it after I am gone. I want you both to make each other happy." As she walked out of the kitchen, never looking back, and slammed the door behind her. Naruto looked at Kurenai and asked, "Are you all right?" Kurenai nods and said, "Yes, are you okay? I mean, I know that must have been tough on you. I was surprised you actually told them as much as you did. Any reason you did?" Naruto said, "I am tired of hiding from people, and if the ones who don't know can't accept me for me, then they never will. That's why I changed some of the names." As he looked tired, Kurenai thought as she looked at him, that look does not suit him. As she walked over and grabbed his hand and said, "I want you to go get you some shorts you don't mind getting wet and change back into your female form and come to the bathroom." Naruto looked confused and Kurenai said, "Just do it, Kushina," as she smirked. Naruto nods and walked to his room and got some cloths before putting his female form of Kushina back on and walked to the bathroom and saw Kurenai sitting in a bubble bath with a bathing suit on and she said, "Come get in the water. You need to relax and I will give you a massage while I wash your back." Naruto asked, "And why do you want me to be in my female form?" Kurenai said, "Because I don't want you to be embarrassed taking a bath with me if you get aroused, so if you're a female you can't get aroused that way and won't be embarrassed. Besides I don't want any accidents." Naruto sighs and walks over to the tub and takes the bathrobe off and Kurenai said, "You know, I have to say you do have nice B cup looks like." Naruto turned red and said, "Oh god, you just had to say that, didn't you?" as he stepped in the water in front of Kurenai and sat down with his back to her. Kurenai started to wash his back and Naruto looked at the tub and asked, "How come there's seals on the tub?" Kurenai said, "I'm surprised you never noticed them before." Naruto said, "I guess it's just because I always take quick showers." "What are they for?" Kurenai said, "A friend of Anko's put them on the tub. They keep the water the same temperature all the time so you don't have to worry about it getting cold if you need to soak because of sore muscles. Now relax, you're too tense," as she rubbed his spine. Naruto sighed as he closed his eyes and said, "You're pretty good at this, you give massages a lot." Kurenai said, "No, I had to learn how to do them in Cortesian classes." Naruto said, "Really? Maybe I should take them so I can return the favor sometime," as he rocked a little under the feeling of her fingers across his back. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.